Hey, can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
Thank you.
That's some federal procurements, which I guess you're not that as interested. Oh, I know you're busy on the development side, but on the DFC core, they tell us that they don't want us to purchase 30%. They want us to do what you're doing on the development side and come up with a number, whether it's lower than 30% or higher than 30%. But I don't have. But I don't know if they've ever given us any guidance. How do you figure? I mean,
They haven't.
Because they explicitly said we don't really want you to put 30% on the RFPs. We want you to figure it. But I don't know how to do that.
This online application is a goal setting mechanism. It has a goal setting mechanism built in. That's why I'm pushing so hard for it, because ESD wants us to do contract by contract, even on the development side. So.
Yeah, I was listening to when you said that, and I said, that's what we need to, I mean, something like trustees and depository, I didn't put goals because we knew that. But we don't always know that until after the RFP process is over. And if we should know, I don't know how to pick it.
Email me when they're ready, Glenn.
No, I don't know if Kelly Green got a hold of you. She thought she got like some kind of phishing or some kind of email about a survey, but it was from KMet. And so I said, check with Wanda, because when I looked down, it was from them to one of our, I think if it wasn't Penda Aiken, it was one of our vendors. Were they sending out a survey?
I don't know.
Okay, so I said, listen, it looks like, the email address looks like it's from the vendor, and I know we do business with this vendor, but check with Wanda.
She didn't call me.
I guess the vendor wanted to know, did HCR send this out? You know, is this for real? I didn't know.
She didn't call me.
I looked carefully because I've been getting a lot of, I don't know what you want to call them, emails that are not legit. And they're
Really?
like, they look like they're legit. They're coming from vendors that look like,
It could
you
be,
know,
yeah.
but the extension says something weird at the end, you know, and it might be it might be a KCR or something, Penda Aiken at 123 at something else. But it's like, hey, it might want to look legit to me.
I don't know why they would be sending her a survey, because they're focusing. Hello.
So maybe it wasn't legit.
Yeah.
That's what
They're
I said to
focusing on
maybe it wasn't legit.
and just development. They're not focusing on HR at all.
Yeah, I didn't know what you were doing with that. So.
No, but she should have called me. She didn't call me.
I'll show you what they said. What they said. She said, is this really from HCR? And on behalf of New York Commerce.
Well, that's their logo. What are they saying?
I mean, it looked like it's from
It's considering sponsoring an education program and setting up a loan fund to help Mwbe to qualify MBA qualified projects. Yeah. We invite you to participate in the survey. Okay, so it's legit.
Okay. So they work it out well for you?
I'm
Sounds
sorry.
like-
Yeah, they are. I should have a final draft in a couple weeks. Yeah, that's the real draw to this goal setting application. This application is the goal setting feature and the good faith effort feature. It helps the developers track all of their activity, and so at the end of the project, when they haven't met their goals, they have everything right there documented, who they reached out to, because right now they have to go back and try to figure that out, send us reports before we can go to the chamber.
So could that piece somehow be integrated with ProLink? You know, the goal setting?
I told Linda that I'm comfortable with not moving forward with ProLink, because ProLink is not going to be able to do the goal setting. And ESD is on our case. We got cited in the HCR audit for not doing a case by contract by contract. That's what the regulations say we should be doing.
The part of the settlement agreement was a pass-through to ProLink, or else we would have had to procure the housing piece out too.
I'm sorry?
Part of the settlement with Phoenix was a pass-through to ProLink, or else we would have had to RFP the housing piece too.
But I'm not part of the housing piece.
I know, but I need a direct line to a procurement line, and ProLink ProLink was the one providing the MWBE. We didn't have a single family RFP solution, so that is going to be an RFP that's coming out down the line.
For what?
A single family solution
did
not come. It wasn't part of family.
No, I know, because they had already done a system.
No. They want this to be part of BAM, but nothing came as part of the BAM solution. So the plan is that the single
Originally,
family,
it wasn't. Right.
we have to RFP that piece out. The problem is that I don't have a procurement path that has a lot of focus on.
Yeah, I've been having several meetings with Linda and Betsy talking about it. So we had the consultant in this week.
So maybe we just RFP that out, and if they
Yeah.
win, legit.
Can't we?
We get rid of.
How about this? Yeah. How about if SUNY has already done that? Can't we piggyback on their procurement? If that's the case.
Yeah, no, state procurement.
I'm sorry.
Not soon. Not soon.
What about DASA?
We can't, but if I can get I don't want to just change our guidelines and then issue the RFP, but we can change our guidelines and issue the RFP a little bit down.
The pilot is, as you know, can be discretionary. It's under 25,000.
Yeah.
So, jumping through these hoops for just a $24,000 contract.
No, I didn't you get the last
I
email?
got your last email.
I said forget about
Right,
it. You
right.
know,
Yeah.
we'll just do a single source for the goal setting.
Need a copy?
I don't think you guys.
You know what? Let me run a
Oh, I have an
You
extra.
guys want a presentation
Hi.
for this?
I just want to thank Rena.
Hi. How are you?
I'm all right.
I'm going to just ask you a pointed question.
They took procurement out of Chrome. Or
Are you still like 100%?
really taking procurement.
It does seem to be just like never ending. Okay, you can't go a day without being in the news. I mean, I guess it makes you.
I mean, yeah, it's going to be an insane year.
Although their programs have been a lot of money.
I mean, like some of this will die down, just sort of
will happen,
whatever. But
My stuff and
for a
yours.
while,
I
it's
said,
going to be.
I mean, every day it's just like some new angle on it, right? Like
I have.
But it's not like
percent is yours.
right. I mean, we're trying to make some of the news now, rather than just having it be.
I give you the jumping off point on that 1%
how
to
many
do
ways
the
can you
compliance
say it,
going
like-
forward. She's got to do,
what they're
you
saying.
know,
Right.
So
she has to have a jumping
informed.
point.
I mean, I just
It's much bigger than mine.
they had a
Yeah.
hearing
As far
or
as
something yesterday.
if
The day
that's
before, or
really
whatever.
they called a hearing to yell at James Patchett and
Oh, right. And Alicia wouldn't show. Why is she talking to
right.
New York Magazine, but not to us?
saying they can do the reporting.
I'll go get Alex, because once we have Alex, we're set, right?
Ken's group and not her.
Yes. So much.
And I guess what Venus
Oh
had
yeah,
told us,
they were just
as
what
they see those people for 3 hours.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a little bit mind-numbing.
Are you taking time off?
Hi, are you Holly?
Here, there.
Hey,
Oh, sorry, you haven't met. This is Dwight.
White.
Hi,
I'm
Dwight.
filling in for you, Tank,
Go
for a little
home,
bit.
Jack.
Oh, okay, great. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well.
We're
Flying out.
moved over to
cruising
be
out
on
of
our
Florida.
like
And then it's
finance
going
and
to like
development
4
side.
different
Yeah.
She went
I
to
don't even
Mark
care
to
about the
Dwight is filling in while we then
line up the
for
leadership.
HTFC
All
lawyer.
day,
Who
every
would
day,
like to be a
Jazz.
lawyer for the HTFC, who wants to work in government and
So we're gonna
nice place and
go to Florida for
do something.
a couple of days.
And I think the other part of her job I think was doing litigation.
The
kind
day
of stuff,
after.
which I think is a little more dynamic. But
I'm kind of thinking,
you've had lawyer friends who want to come into
the
government.
time.
Right, we're looking for an
Why?
HTFC lawyer.
Board meeting.
HTFC lawyer?
Yeah.
Actually, Liz Bieber sent
I
me
am.
a candidate for the one that I guess we have. Marion Mwbe is going to join us.
Oh,
You know,
huh?
you know
Yeah,
that, right?
I haven't seen it.
So she
No, I
sent me a
haven't seen it. I
candidate.
saw
So
For HTFC or to backfill for Marion?
for us, it's just we can't. No, not to backfill from
No, I
Marion.
haven't seen it.
You know, in case she wanted to work on our side.
13th.
But
It's all our side. We don't have sides.
the Kool-Aid, the Kool-Aid. The Kool-Aid doesn't reach
I'm trying
me.
to spill the Kool-Aid on you.
Is that
Oh,
Alex,
Mark
who is a charter
Mark
member
Cologne.
of the integration committee?
Mark, you know they don't know that.
Literally one of the 6 people who created HCR.
Mark, he's
You know,
still bitter
they
about
don't-
Sunny
you know
Mae and HFA being co-located.
Yeah,
You
I
gotta
know.
give him a few decades.
So Mark and
Okay.
me and Mark and me and Chris Leo, right? Who else?
Marion.
Mark? We were the original.
Marion.
Good job.
Marion.
Zucker.
It's not what we thought it was going to be. Mark, you got to start forgetting things, Mark.
For the record, I'm perfectly satisfied with the results.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that.
So who should I send it to?
Who is it?
I didn't really get a chance to look at it, but it's somebody that she thinks is pretty good, a younger attorney.
Send it to me.
Okay. And this will be for what kind of job?
I don't know. I guess we'll see. Well, you either have HTFC backfill or Marion's backfill.
Okay. All right.
Right. The mix looking for.
One person to do both, or?
No, we have
No.
two backfills.
Two.
So do you have any other lawyers? We still have an open spot.
I do know a former state lawyer who's looking to go back into the state.
Oh yeah. Send them
Yeah.
Another
Send them our way.
Okay.
2 spots. Okay, who's starting us?
I am. We have a quorum. I can't even speak anymore.
have a
I
quorum.
apologize to everybody. With the chair, Holly Light, and
We've been
Mr.
talking all
Valeha,
morning.
representing Kenneth Adams. Is there a motion to call to order the meeting of the members of the Housing Trust Fund Corporation?
So moved.
And a second.
Second.
The members, these first and seconds will be used throughout today's meeting unless a director would like to record his or her vote differently. The members will also be acting in their capacity as members of the Audit and Governance Committee. Is there a motion to call to order the Audit and Governance Committee meeting?
I'll move it.
And a second?
Second.
The first item is an approval of the minutes of the meeting held on November 8th, 2018. If there are no questions or comments, the minutes will be deemed approved. Next item is a resolution authorizing an amendment to the internal audit charter for the Governor's Office of Storm Recovery. Hillary, are you on the phone?
Yes, I am. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, great. I'm presenting the second amendment to BOSER's Internal Audit Department Charter. The first amendment, which was adopted in November of 2017, established a dual reporting structure whereby the IAD reported to the Chief Operating Officer for administrative matters and the board for substantive matters. And this arrangement proved effective. So our former COO, Donna Roy, left GOSER earlier this year, and Dan Green took over the role. Dan Green left GOSER recently, and now Emily Thompson has taken over the role. So this second amendment is necessary to amend the dual reporting structure from the COO and board to the general counsel or acting general counsel and board.
Okay.
I just have one question. I had this with Dan before. In the sentence where it says, with the exception of direction from GOSER's acting general counsel / general counsel or the chairperson, the IAD will remain free from interference. So how is an internal auditor independent if the general counsel
Can interfere.
I think what this is intended to do, and we can work on it, is recognize that somebody needs to provide day-to-day supervision to the internal auditor and just reflect on their work product and also what they're choosing to audit and those types of things. And I think this is intended to be a recognition that in this case the acting general counsel or the general counsel is providing that type of supervision, not to deter them from moving forward with an audit as much as to be kind of a manager, an on-site. Is that accurate, Hillary?
Yes, and as I understand it, a lot of what Dan was doing and now what Emily's doing is sort of administrative. Like, she gives them access to resources that they may require. She makes sure they get, meetings with management and just kind of like helps the process move along more efficiently.
So
Well, that's captured in the sentence at the beginning of the next paragraph, right? So maybe just eliminate that, the phrase above.
The dual report.
It says the acting general counsel will be responsible for overseeing administrative matters of the IAD. It feels like that captures it without having to
include
that with the
have
exception
the
to include that clause, right?
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Would you mind just pointing me to the one sentence, with the exception of interference from the GC? Because I have the document in front of me, but I'm not seeing it.
It's under authority. It's the next to last sentence in the paragraph under authority.
On page 3, I think. No, on page 2.
Okay.
No.
On page 2.
So it doesn't actually have a page number on ours.
Okay.
What is the paragraph begin with?
Authority, it starts authority, and then the IAD is the first. Am I looking at the?
Oh, well, it's in
No, I
the
see
next document. I was looking
Yes,
at
it's not in the memo. It's in
Right,
the
it's
actual,
in the actual amendment to the
amendment.
charter.
Yeah.
So
I see.
I just think I think you still get to as Holly was saying, I think you still get the same idea in with that, and you don't need to include that with the exception of direction from the council.
Okay. Okay, sure. I can take a look at it and revise and resubmit.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's fine.
I think that would be okay. I think that would be fine.
Could it, this is Betsy, could it be approved pending that modification?
Well, yeah, I mean, we just like we do at HFA, right? The
Yeah.
approval is subject to that change being made, and assuming that it's made, then we approve
Yeah.
it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you don't have to bring it back as long as we can see it,
Okay, great. So I just want to confirm internally, but I'll do that shortly.
All right. So why don't we approve with the amendment, and then Hillary, if that's not appropriate for some reason, you and I can talk, and then we can bring it back. Okay.
Okay,
And now-
that sounds good. Thank you.
Great. Then now before the Audit and Governance Committees of the Housing Trust Fund Corporation and the Board of the Housing Trust Fund Corporation is a resolution approving an amendment to the internal audit charter for the Governor's Office of Storm Recovery, assuming the first and second previously entered for both the committee and the board. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The motions are carried and the resolutions are adopted. Next, before both the committee, the governance committee, and the board, is a resolution authorizing an amendment for the policy for use of emergency funds to preserve an HTFC assisted project imperiled by disaster or other circumstances beyond the project's ability to remedy. Mark?
Good morning or afternoon. We're asking the board to amend HTFC's policy with the much too long name. So I'll just call the Imperil Projects Policy. With respect to two matters. One is to revise the title of authorized designee, and the other is to increase the threshold requiring prior approval to match HCR's other public benefit corporation thresholds. Currently, the policy requires that emergency requests for these projects for HTF funds not in excess of $20,000 can be granted by the president of OHP with the consent of HTF CEO. The president then reports informationally to the board at the next meeting. Going forward, the recommendation is that approval be granted by the president of OHP with the consent of the chief strategy officer for portfolio preservation, Becky Kepnick, who is more directly involved with the portfolio projects. The other recommendation is that the threshold requirement, the threshold requiring prior board approval be increased to $50,000 to bring it in line with the other threshold limits provided under state finance law for public benefit corporations.
I think we discussed at the last board meeting raising those limits.
Yep.
Are there any questions? If there are no questions, then assuming the first is now before both the board, before both the governance and audit committees as well as the board, is a resolution authorizing an amendment to the policy for use of emergency funds to preserve an HTFC assisted project imperiled by disaster or other circumstances beyond the project's ability to remedy. Assuming the first and second previously entered for both the governance committee as well as the board. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The motions are carried and the resolutions are adopted. Next, before the board is resolution authorizing a transfer of funds to the Preservation Initiative Program and an award for North Fork. I think you're up again, Mark.
So I'd like to turn this over to Marilyn.
Oh, I'm sorry, Marilyn. I didn't see you down in the corner.
Thank you. Good afternoon, members of the board. Presented today for your consideration is a recommendation of award to the North Fork Housing Alliance under the Preservation Initiative Program, also known as PIP. This project involves a significant rehabilitation of an existing 5-unit affordable housing project located in Greenport, New York. This 5-unit project was originally financed as part of an 11-unit project under the Home Program back in 1993. The balance of the project has already been preserved via unified funding in 2012. These buildings are listed on the National Register of Historic Places as part of the Village Historic District. This designation has a significant impact on construction costs as well as costs associated with lead abatement. The proposed scope of work and capital improvements for both the buildings is comprehensive and detailed on the briefing sheets before you. The application has been reviewed by both underwriting and our architect and engineering unit and deemed feasible. This repositioning will extend the project's affordability, and the project will be entering into a new 30-year regulatory agreement. The HCR funding for this project will be provided through the Preservation Initiative program, but because the remaining funds in this program are insufficient to support this award, we are recommending that corporate funds in an amount up to $634,511 be transferred into the PIP program. It is further recommended that the HTFC board approve a PIP award in an amount up to $1,299,799 for this project. If anyone has any questions, I'd be happy to take them at this time.
Can you just talk about why, I mean this in a nice way, but why it's so expensive?
Because of the, one of the things I mentioned was the historic nature. All of the repairs and the window repairs had to be approved by SHPO. And the lead abatement, also to bring in the hazardous remediation experts and the contractors. Because of the location out in the North Fork, there is a very limited pool of contractors with this expertise.
Okay.
If there are no additional questions, now before the board is an authorizing a transfer of funds to the Preservation Initiative Program and an award for North Fork, assuming the first and second previously entered. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The motion is carried and the resolution adopted. Now before the board is a resolution authorizing an award under the Community Development Block Grant Program for Economic Development to the Village of Penn Yan for Parker's Grill Tap. Jason?
Thank you. Good afternoon. The Village of Penn Yan is requesting $226,000 in CUG economic development funds, just as Parker's Grill, to help them expand operations into a vacant commercial space within the village. The 3,000 square foot first floor storefront will be completely renovated to add a kitchen, custom bar, and seating for up to 90 people, with potential for outdoor seating as well. This provides a new dining option in the village in an efforts to meet their local demand and attract visitors, along with preserving the village's historic downtown. The proposed project, the total project cost is $826,000 and will create 28 jobs over the 2 years, with 24 or 85% of them to benefit low to moderate income individuals. CDBG funds will be used for furniture, fixtures, equipment, and working capital expenses, and the cost per job is $8,071. Each dollar in CDBG funds provided will leverage $2.65 in private investment, and we're requesting a recommendation resolution to provide economic development funds to the Village of Penn Yan in Yates County.
Any questions?
No.
If there are no questions, and now before the board for approval is a resolution authorizing an award under the Community Development Block Grant Program for Economic Development to the Village of Penn Yan for Parker's Grill Tap House. Assuming the first and second previously entered, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The motion is carried and the resolution adopted. Jason will now present a resolution authorizing an award under the Community Development Block Grant Program for Economic Development to Ontario County for Real Eats America. Today's a food day.
It is. So Ontario County is requesting $750,000 in economic development funds to assist Real Eats America with the purchase of machinery and equipment for them to increase capacity and expand product development. They are a subscription-based vacuum-packed meal service similar to, maybe you've heard of Blue Apron, that sends the meal service directly to the consumer. They currently have over 1,300 subscribers in 22 states. Real Eats was initially incorporated as Otago America, and it should be noted that the City of Geneva was previously awarded $350,000 in 2016 to assist Otago America, for which the company successfully created 28 full-time jobs, all of which were made available to it. This project is beyond the scope of that 2016 project. They're looking to add an additional 12,000 square feet of space and increase their output. The total project cost of $1.95 million will create a huge number of jobs, 312 full-time equivalents over 2 years, with 67% of them to benefit low to moderate income individuals. Again, it will be used for machinery and equipment, furniture, fixtures, and employment training. And the cost per job is $2,404, with each dollar in CDBG funds leveraging $1.60 in private investment. Requesting a recommendation resolution to provide CDBG economic development funds to Ontario County for Real Eats.
Any questions?
Nope.
Then assuming the first and second was previously entered for the board, now before the board is resolution authorizing an award under the Community Development Block Grant Program for Economic Development to Ontario County for Real Eats America. All in favor?
Aye.
The motion is carried and the resolution adopted. Now before the board is resolution authorizing an award under the Community Development Block Grant Program for housing activities to Clinton County.
Aw. I already like this one.
Good.
Home park.
You need to proceed.
So this is actually, this is not a new award. This is an increase to an existing award, a request for an increase. So Clinton County's provided relocation assistance to a total of 38 households of the Underwood Park, manufactured housing park, that experienced severe flood damage in the winter of 17 and 18, which resulted in a need to relocate the park residents. In 2015, this housing activity from the county was utilized to assist the city of Plattsburgh with the relocation of residents. In working with the Housing Assistance Program of Essex County, or HAPIC, with the relocation assistance and to make sure that the park became functional again. In accordance with trust fund bylaws, OCR was authorized to increase the $400,000 award up to 10% for an additional $40,000 to account for the necessary relocation assistance. At this time, HAPIC has identified an additional sum necessary to cover the relocation assistance beyond the 10%, and we're recommending an increase of an additional $41,523, which is an aggregate award of $481,523 to Clinton County under their housing activities to reimburse HAPIC for the assistance. So we're requesting a recommendation resolution to provide an increase of housing funds for the total award of $481,523 to Clinton County. Today's increase is just the $41,523.
Okay.
Any questions? Then now before the board is resolution authorizing an award under the Community Development Block Grant Program for housing activities to Clinton County, assuming the first and second previously entered for the board. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The motion is carried and the resolution adopted. Next before the board are a series of resolutions authorizing unified funding early awards.
Hi, good afternoon. Presented for your consideration. First, a resolution authorizing a low-income housing trust fund program award to Malone Village 2. In July of this year, the Housing Trust Fund Corporation issued a NOFA for applications seeking funding through HCR's annual unified funding round and made available a number of multifamily capital programs, including the Low-Income Housing Trust Fund program. Also, as part of a subsequent request for proposals issued in August, applicants were given an opportunity to apply for early awards provided they met certain additional funding criteria. So in response to the NOFA and RFP, HCR received a total of 11 early award applications for HTFC funding, including 7 requesting HTF funds. At this time, based on underwriting, scoring readiness, and threshold program eligibility reviews, as well as consideration of other factors outlined in the August 2018 RFP, the Office of Finance and Development is recommending that an early HTF award be authorized for Malone Village 2, located in the city of Auburn, Cuyahoga County, for the gut rehab of 62 units of public housing in an amount up to $4,583,315. A briefing sheet describing the specifics of the project was included in your board package. If there are any questions, I'd be happy to take them at this time.
Then now before the board is resolution authorizing low-income housing trust fund program award to Malone Village 2, assuming the first and second previously entered. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Resolution, the motion is carried and the resolution adopted. Sean, should I go ahead with the next resolution?
Sure.
Now before the board is resolution authorizing the Supportive Housing Opportunity Program award to Austin 147 and La Rosa Villas, assuming the first and second previously entered for the board. All in favor, please say aye.
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 The motion is carried and the resolution adopted. Now before the board is a resolution authorizing a budget and financial plan for the authority's budget office reporting, otherwise known as Paris. Please.
Good afternoon. As always happens this time of year, I'm coming before the board seeking approval for the required authorities budget office budget and financial plan that has to be submitted no later than the end of this month through the Paris reporting system. This particular report is very high level and includes all of the funding that basically flows through the Trust Fund Corporation, which includes the Governor's Office of Storm Recovery Funds, which is different from what is normally viewed by the board. We normally present a administrative budget. This particular packet is in a format that is required by the authority's budget office and represents last year's report from 2018, fiscal year ending March 31st, 2018, which, as you look at the report, is the first column on that report. That is taken directly from our financial statements prepared by the, BS&T as of last year. The current year column represents where we're anticipating being in both revenue and expenditure through the end of this fiscal year, ending March 31st of 2019. The 2020 next year column is currently what we're anticipating receiving for both revenue and expenditure for program and admin for the 2019-2020 fiscal year. And then the outlier years, because our funding from the federal and state resources is so unknown at this time, what we have done in the past and what we're continuing to do this year is to just reflect out a flat revenue, flat expenditures for those outlying years. Come March, I will present to the board the much more detailed administrative budget that will reflect the numbers that are known at that time from the state budget, the state executive budget, and what we know of coming from the federal government. So now this is really just kind of a pro forma report that we do have to submit to the authority's budget office that I am seeking approval from the board. Are there any questions?
Nope.
Yep. There are no questions. Then now before the board is resolution authorizing the budget and financial plan for the authority's budget office reporting, assuming the first and second previously entered for the board. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The motion is carried and the resolution adopted. Now before the board for consideration is a resolution approving the MWBE goal plan.
MWBE goal plan. As usual, this is the annual goal plan for this fiscal year coming up, 2019-2020. Tamika Edwards from my team in Albany is joining us today since she has been instrumental in working with me in putting together this plan, along with all of my colleagues in the various units. Our unit analyzes the agency's expenditures and helps to identify MWBE opportunities, and we work to create procurement strategies. Similar to the public authorities, procurement is a very small percentage of the agency's spend, and we see the bulk of the utilization on the construction projects. We will employ some of the same strategic plans on the HTF projects as we are on the public authority, and that's to continue working with the development community to understand the MWBE requirements, continue to attend the pre-bid conferences, working to expedite MWBE certifications, submit requests to expedite, working with MWBEs to market their businesses to our funded project sources. We will also continue to look at ways to unbundle the projects to increase utilization on the soft costs. Tamika, you have anything you want to add?
No, that's fine.
Okay. So, again, this is the annual goal plan for this year.
It's just striking the difference, the jump. Fiscal year 11-12, it was 7.44.
Well, what?
From that point on, 30, 29, 22, 21, 17, 30 again.
Well, I can explain that jump. That's the very first fiscal year that we started really reporting. We included the weatherization program, which tanked the numbers.
Oh, in that year?
Yeah.
Really?
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Live and learn.
Right, exactly. But you see, there's been a steady increase.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah.
And unlike the public authorities, the projects are smaller projects, and the utilization, is higher because of the availability of firms that can work on these projects.
Great. Oh, and you have all the trades. You do the same thing for the
I
what you
did.
provide us?
I did.
Nice.
Shows where the utilization is occurring.
Kind of fascinating.
Yeah. And that's based on what we receive on a quarterly basis for the life of each project. And we have a database that we've created now of over 800 MWBEs that have worked on HCR cross programs activities. So.
My recollection is the general construction utilization for HTFC is higher
Much
than
higher.
it is.
We have one construction monitor on HFA side, but you see, again, it's smaller projects, and it's the nature of the funding. But I think the agency and the board can be proud of the activity.
That's great.
Any questions? There are no other further questions. Now before the board is resolution approving the MWBE goal plan for the Housing Trust Fund Corporation. Assuming the first and second previously entered, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The motion is carried and the resolution adopted. Now before the board is resolution approving the Service Disabled Veteran-Owned Business goal plan.
Again, here this is our annual report that's going to be submitted to OGS, who administers the Service Disabled Veterans Program. We do the same thing we do on MWBE. We work with our colleagues in the various units to try to identify opportunities for service disabled veterans. But as we all know, the portfolio of firms is so small, and the areas of opportunity is even smaller because of their skill set. But we do see utilization on some of our projects on the HTFC side. Again, because of the smaller project and it matches better with the smaller service disabled veterans firms. But we continue to go to the industry events to market the agency's programs and to work with OGS to try to empower the firms.
Great.
There
You're
are
doing
no,
great on this. It's amazing.
there are no further questions. Now before the board is resolution approving the Service Disabled Veteran-Owned Business Goal Plan for the Housing Trust Fund Corporation. Assuming the first and second previously entered for the board, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Motion is carried and the resolution adopted.
Thank
Next
you.
is the resolution approving the depository services contracts. Lisa?
HTFC, along with HFA, Mwbe, MBBA, and TSFC, issued an RFP for trustee and depository services. HTFC's procurement was limited to depository services. We received 3 responses, one from Capital One, U.S. Bank, Wells Fargo. Capital One was disqualified as they did not meet the minimum requirements. And HTFC created a pre-qualified panel of depository services that include U.S. Bank and Wells Fargo, and now before the board is authorization to enter into contracts on an as-needed basis with firms on the panel.
there any questions? Then now for the board's resolution approving the depository service contracts, assuming the first and second previously entered. All in favor, please say aye.
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 The motion is carried and the resolution adopted. Just as an information item, next Monday, 2 written resolutions will be circulated for the board's consideration and approval with respect to 2 consolidated funding application awards, which the governor plans to announce on December 18th. So be on the lookout for those. And the remainder of the items are informational items and do not require board action. Review of the secret concur summaries, review of the secret type 2 projects, review of the secret determinations for projects under the Governor's Office of Storm Recovery, review of authorized contracts under the Governor's Office of Storm Recovery, review of expenditure under policy for use of emergency funds to preserve HTFC assisted project imperiled by disaster or other circumstances beyond the project's ability to remedy, review of the Clappett Industries LLC DBA EMG contract, review of the Saks BST LLP contract, review of the Elation Systems contract. Are there any remaining questions or comments? If there are none, is there a motion and a second to adjourn the meeting of the board?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. And a motion and a second to adjourn the meetings of the Governance and Audit Committees?
So moved.
And a second.
Second.
All in favor of adjourning today's meetings, please say aye.
Aye.
The motion is carried. The meetings are adjourned. And I think we're going to have to figure out the logistics around the next board meeting.
Okay.
Because the January 24th will be down at Beaver, and I think it's just a matter of whether or not we want to come back up to Midtown or...
We're moving out temporarily and then renovating our office and moving back. So from
going down
We're gonna
there
be
to
at Beaver.
Right.
No,
And the
we're
question
going
is
to
whether or not
Madison.
we
Well, we could
wanna-
do this at Madison.
It's more a question of timing. Like, how much time do we need to leave ourselves to get from Beaver to
Oh
Madison?
my God! In January with Ken and all the presentations, we're going to be there until noon.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
So
we
we
have
should
to
do
get
it at,
back
like,
to
2
Holly on
or something. We might do it
scheduling
2
for
instead of...
for the January meeting.
Okay.
To give ourselves time.
So we're going to
move.
Madison in
A
48.
little later.
Right, or we
For
could
9
just stay
months.
at Madison.
Or we
We
could do
just
it
stay
over
at
there.
Beaver and
Yeah.
do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll
It's probably kind of inconvenient. Okay, so we'll figure
figure
that
it out.
Okay.
You have crickets now on your. Is that new?
No, I've always had cricket.
You always had them.
It just doesn't. My what's it called, like mute button or whatever, it broke, so I can never mute my phone.
That's awkward.
It's really annoying.
I like that.
I need to go to the Apple store and be
Yeah,
like,
I just have
can't
to get
ever
some
mute.
food.
I haven't gotten any.
All right,
It's highly
we'll get food
inconvenient.
and
Yeah,
we'll
yeah. Sorry.
I didn't notice.
stand up. Just to get the energy to stand up.
How are things
Still
other
drinking
than
this
that?
morning.
Morning's coffee.
Or is it
We are you serious?
There's not a lot else right now, but
Really?
but okay.
So tonight I won't go
really
until
bring
10.
San Filippo?
What's that?
I think we give.
No, he was just again. He's just so.
It's your first week. Talk about Amazon.
Covering less.
He's just so
And
negative.
first HK.
Like.